We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live!
Please remain silent while I am speaking. We have a lot to get through.
Put that cigarette out.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Oh my God, he's gonna puke! He's gonna puke!
He's fat! You three guys want a war tonight? You got one! To beat a man, you gotta beat the man, and I'm saying, woo, right here!
Greetings all, it is Monday, November 25th, the Monday before Thanksgiving, as a matter of fact. We just finished watching Raw, which broadcasted live from my home state of New York, down in Long Island. It was episode 1070. Michael Cole decided to drop that fun fact at the beginning, so I decided I would as well. And this is episode, I don't know, of the Mega Powers Radio Raw Post Show. Thank you for joining us all. I will be your host for the evening, Mike Paden. Joining me tonight, fun cast of characters. First off, the Bounce House Prince, Mr. Drew White. How you doing, Drew White?
Fantastic. How are you, Mr. Paden?
Absolutely tremendous. The lead host of Unanimous Decision MMA over on the Dream Elite Radio brand, Mr. Stephen Wago. How you doing, Stephen?
I'm tired, and this Raw didn't help too much, so cynical as ever. Glad to be here.
And the lead host of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, Mr. Tony Mango. What's shaking, Tony?
I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't get introduced as Tony Rootin' Tootin' Mango.
Hey, that's a good nickname. That's going to catch on. It's better than the Kosher Butcher. I'm sure to come up with a better finishing name. That was probably the moment of the night on Raw. Overall, not a fantastic show. Not a particularly dreadful show. I think it was so-so. It was the night after a pay-per-view, so I guess we couldn't expect too much. I think the biggest thing that we had announced happened in our opening segment, and that is coming up at the TLC pay-per-view, we will see a TLC matchup between John Cena and Randy Orton, where we may finally see the WWE title and the World Heavyweight title combined. Gentlemen, can we finally see this happen, and are we excited, or are we going to miss this two-title system? Steven, why don't you start us off?
I'm sure Strahan is fucking crying at the idea of this happening, but personally, I think it's a long time coming. You only really need to have one champion of the company. Having the second belt there, it was just kind of a cop-out for guys that didn't deserve to be top tier to be top tier, so I'm glad to see both belts unified. It's going to be a shame to see the big gold design disappear, but needs are must. Absolutely. Drew, you were about to talk?
Yes. Unlike Steven, I'm not really happy with the decision, like you said. It's a long time coming, and I knew that. But with the two brand thing they're going with, it makes sense to have two titles. Not that I'm using that as an excuse. The main reason why I don't think they should do this is because WWE booking hasn't been good for a long time. So just take away the World Heavyweight Championship and just imagine the WWE with another match on the card that was thrown together at the last minute. And that's essentially what you're going to get with the one title system like that. So, if this is like a couple years from now and they can like fix their issues that they've been having lately, then yes. But I'm a little hesitant on the idea. But I don't think they're going to unify it right away. They're probably just going to do the Undisputed Champion stuff for a while.
Well, here's the thing. You said they're doing this two-brand thing. What two brands are they doing right now?
Yeah, that died a long time ago. There's no need to have two belts anymore. Nah. The only argument that people have for keeping the two titles around is, well, the guys like Dolph Ziggler can't get the championship belt without the big one being around. Well, that's probably because they don't deserve to be champion.
Yeah, you're exactly right with that. And I was actually going to bring that up because, that was, like you said, it was like that's like the only argument. But, they probably don't deserve the title at all if they can't get it.
Not everyone should be a world champion. I mean, Jesus Christ, Strahan, the guy who made the argument for two titles is the same guy who booked Zack Ryder to win the World Heavyweight title at WrestleMania. That is exactly why we do not need a World Heavyweight Championship.
Just look at Alberto Del Rio and how many times he's been given a title because they needed somebody else to be the other champion, whether it was the World Heavyweight or the WWE. We could have avoided all of these title reigns from Alberto Del Rio if they never would have done this in the beginning.
And that alone is enough reason to just have one championship belt. And seriously, in the long run, you can make your lower card titles mean more when you have these guys that would be your World Heavyweight Champion fighting for the IC or the US, which again, I think both of those should be unified too.
Yeah, And also, they could maybe even bring back like a cruiserweight title as well if they still want to do that.
Your Bryan can hold
a
it.
Minis title, that'd be great.
Yeah,
And
El Torito's title, you
Wago
mean?
and El Torito, yeah, exactly.
You know, like someone said earlier, every company needs the Mr. Perfects of the company, and you know, not everyone could be a world heavyweight champion.
Indeed. Tony, what do you think about this upcoming unification possibility?
I gotta grit my teeth at it because I'm somebody who is very afraid of change, knowing that WWE has changed things in the past and made it worse. Sometimes they change it for the better. I actually think that this new title design is a lot better than the old spinner belt. So that's an example right there where they can do their upgrades, but at the same time, they can take something and make it significantly worse. And Drew brings up a good point here. If they've been not putting a whole lot of effort into a lot of their feuds and just kind of throwing them on at the last minute, one of the staples that we've had for every pay-per-view has been, well, at least we have the World Heavyweight Championship and we can build a feud around the two of them fighting for that title. And you don't have to put a whole lot of effort into that to be able to make it sell. Now, if we don't have that one, that's one more match, one big marquee match on top of it that needs a feud built around it. And if they're not going to put the effort into building those feuds and making an actual good storyline to come from it, holy shit, this could end up turning really awful.
Well, no, here's the question. Why do you have to have multiple marquee matches on a show? It wasn't always that way. I think we've gotten spoiled to that thought that you have to have 3 marquee matches at WrestleMania. Once upon a time, WrestleMania only had 1 marquee and then the undercard maybe 2, especially as The Undertaker came to prominence. And, you know, you'll still have those. I mean, you'll have your title match, you'll have the Undertaker match, that's 2 marquee matches, and you can still build another one if they want to do like the Battle of the Billionaires. That would be an example of making another great outside marquee matchup.
I mean, on like the regular pay-per-views, WrestleMania is always going to get that extra bit of attention, but imagine what we're going to get. Like if this does build up and we've got, you know, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and WrestleMania where they have that kind of planned out, what's going to happen with like Extreme Rules onward? Are we going to have the next Over the Limit or Battleground or whatever, where people are like, and I don't know, Mark Henry against Ryback? Or
the answer for that is you build a feud about becoming the number 1 contender, about being the next guy to be available to hold the championship. You just make your title, like the run towards the title, mean more.
I would hope so.
I mean, that would be my idea, but I don't know what WWE's going to do.
No.
I understand why you're fucking scared.
You're absolutely right, Steven. No, the thing they have to do is they'll finally have the opportunity without it being so oversaturated that a title win will mean that much more, and they can really take that opportunity to make a bigger star when they're the one guy. There's no doubts. There's no dispute about it. They're that one guy. And that could be your opportunity to finally cement Daniel Bryan in that spot, or if you want to take a chance with someone else, Dolph Ziggler's a name people throw out there a lot. I think it's a little too late for that, but maybe like a Big E Langston could be someone you could do that with.
Doesn't that also run the risk, though, of drawing even more criticism when they just keep giving it to John Cena? Because you know John Cena's not going to end up giving that spot over to somebody else. John Cena's always going to be that top guy, and if he's the only guy that they give it to, then we're not even going to have that World Heavyweight Championship where we can celebrate those wins with Money in the Bank and everything.
Yeah, the only good thing, though, coming out of this is, like, as far as that goes, is Cena, if Cena is going to be in that spot constantly, at least he's going to have more of a variety of guys to feud with.
Hopefully, or he's just going to continue feuding with Randy Orton and Big Show for the rest of 2014.
Well, hopefully Big Show just comes down with a gun, shoots Orton, and then shoots himself in the face, and problem solved.
Now, we got the chat room working again this week. Brian the Brain says we need more belts. If you get rid of the world title, then add the hardcore title belt. Now, would you guys agree with that sentiment? Do you think if we got rid of the world title, it would be the best idea to bring in some other title, perhaps a gimmicky title or some other undercard, or even the undercard title is kind of saturated at the moment?
What I do is, one, I don't think we need 2 Intercontinental, like the Intercontinental and the US title. I think it's too much of the same. So I agree, if you're going to bring more belts in, you make them gimmicky. But unify your IC and your US, or at least make one seem the lesser of the two, kind of how we had the IC and the European Championship. Then you can use some of your... so then anyone that doesn't fall into the WWE title bracket can fall into the Intercontinental, and those who don't fall into that fall into the European. I guess that's the only way you can do it. And then maybe bring in a hardcore if you want to go that route, or bring in a Cruiserweight Championship. It could work. If WWE booking feels like they don't have anything to do with these guys, then sure, bring in some extra belts.
Tony, what do you think about that? What would you like to see back as a title if we did this?
I'm of the opinion that the European title is ridiculous.
Yes.
And we should never have the United States Championship and the Intercontinental Championship either. So I think you need to have just the Intercontinental title, and then if you're going to include another belt, it can't be gimmicky to the point where it goes against the rest of the titles. And that's where I think the European title makes no sense, because why is it like the world title and then the Intercontinental title and then another location title? It's really kind of like stupidly confusing. But that's also why I don't think the Cruiserweight title makes sense, because then you're kind of drawing this distinction between the heavyweight title and the Cruiserweight. And somebody like Daniel Bryan should never be the heavyweight champion at that point. He should only be the Cruiserweight champion, or they should start doing the weight classes like the welterweight and featherweight and all that. And that would be just, going too far to the extreme. So I think you need something like maybe the hardcore title, but maybe just something that you can call it something that doesn't necessarily need to be anything else. Like if we have the WWE champion, maybe we have not necessarily like the Raw champion and the SmackDown champion, but maybe we do something like that where you can defend a title on Raw and defend a title on SmackDown, and there's a little bit of a difference. It works better in a brand split, obviously, but just something with the idea of they're not the champion of the entire company, but they're not kind of going against what the other champions are as well. I don't know what you could do, though. I've never been able to think of that, and I've had this idea for years.
So we're talking about title unifications here on the Monday Night Raw post show on Mega Powers Radio. If you'd like to join the conversation at any time, we got the chat room active. You could scroll down on the Blog Talk Radio page and see what's going on down there. We also got a call-in number for you to call in and join the show. Area code 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247. You could also call in using Skype by clicking the little Skype logo right above the player. Guys, I want to continue this conversation just a little longer, but I want to pull it back to present times. What do we think the result of this John Cena and Randy Orton ordeal is going to be? For me, what I saw right away, seeing how they always try to find some gimmicky, dumb way to extend things on further, what I see happening at TLC is John Cena is going to grab a hold of the WWE title. Randy Orton is going to grab a hold of the World Heavyweight title. They're both going to pull back at the same moment and fall down to the ground, and we're just going to have a title switch, extending the unification onto another month. And then from there forward, I don't know. I would say we most likely would see the actual unification happen at Royal Rumble. Then you have your Royal Rumble winners set up, and you have your WrestleMania match all set in stone. But as far as who those people would be, I couldn't possibly tell you, but I'd be interested to hear what you guys might think. Tony, why don't you start us off?
That's a really good idea, and I didn't think of that until it had been brought up, but ever since that has been brought up, that's the only thing I can get in my mind. And I think if they unify the title after TLC, it has to be done at the Royal Rumble. There's no way around it, because you can't do it at Elimination Chamber, and you can't have Cena and Orton against each other for TLC, Royal Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and then unify it at WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. Nobody will give a shit. So you have to just do it TLC or Royal Rumble, and then either way, it has to be unified by the Royal Rumble if they're going to unify it, period. If they're not, then something crazy can happen. They could just switch the titles and move on and have a WWE champion and a World Heavyweight champion at Royal Rumble, and there's no unification whatsoever. But that's something that I kind of don't think that they're going to do. I think we are just going to see a flat-out unification, and the thing that I think is weird about this is the Elimination Chamber almost becomes the equivalent of the Royal Rumble winner for the champion. Now, the Royal Rumble winner should theoretically still get their title shot at WrestleMania, and now they don't have a choice between the two, so there's no Elimination Chamber to figure out who is the other challenger. So now it's the Royal Rumble champion, or the Royal Rumble winner has to challenge the champion, but the champion has to go through the Elimination Chamber for that right to be at WrestleMania. And I think that might be pretty interesting.
It's certainly an unpredictable road we have to WrestleMania at this point, I think. Drew, what are your thoughts about what we might see, though? Do you think we're going to see an official unification happen at TLC? Do you see some shenanigans happen? What do you think the WrestleMania picture is going to be looking like at this point?
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if the TLC match ended in like a no contest or something stupid like that, and then they hold it off another month. Because I think if they're going to do this, I feel like they got to do this at a Big Four pay-per-view if they're going to do a title unification. It just feels weird that they're going to do it at TLC. But
well, let's not forget they did it at Unforgiven the last time.
Yeah. Yes, good point. Then it's a weird situation.
Which was also in December, if I remember correctly, wasn't it?
Yeah, so
that was a December pay-per-view.
Yeah, so never mind. Let's go with it'll happen at TLC then. And then I liked Tony's idea of like just having like the one Royal Rumble winner only has the opportunity to challenge for that one title. So I like what Tony says, and I'm just gonna go up straight out and just be like, yep, this is what's gonna happen, and I just gotta get over myself.
Steven, what do you predict we may see?
In the long run, I'm predicting we're going to get John Cena versus Daniel Bryan at Mania, and the road they're going to go through that is they're going to do some type of fuck finish at TLC. They'll have the actual unification at the Royal Rumble. Cena will defend his title at Elimination Chamber. Daniel Bryan will win the Royal Rumble, and we'll get those two go at it. Ideally, if I had to pick what I'd want with this whole team between Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, is for those two to go at it at Mania. Have CM Punk win it in the Chamber and Daniel Bryan win it at the Rumble, and my little inner indie smark will have a overload. That's what I'd like to happen. But
well, based on the things that we saw happen with them tonight, I don't know how that's going to get worked in there. It's still possible, but it looks like they're probably going to get involved in a different picture.
I don't know where those two are going as far as the long run goes, but I'd like to see those two have a Mania match. I think give them good like half an hour, it'd be awesome.
Yep. Brian the Brain, his thoughts is we'll see both of them drop the belts, and the winner of the Rumble will win both belts. First off, I'm just kind of laughing at the idea of like John Cena and Randy Orton having butterfingers and the titles just like drop out of their hands to the floor, and the referee just picks them up like, I'm the champion. Like the referee holds up the belts, and Triple H comes out all pissed.
See, that whole Scott Armstrong thing with Triple H that was building to this, he becomes the champion, and the Royal Rumble winner gets to challenge Scott Armstrong at WrestleMania.
And the Royal Rumble winner is going to be...
Triple H.
Brad Maddox.
No, the Eliminator.
No,
the Kosher Butcher.
That's all we saw him make his debut tonight. The Kosher Butcher is going to win the Royal Rumble.
This is long-term booking here.
Oh, goodness gracious.
He's got the circumcision. He's got it.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Folks, if you would like to call in and talk about the Kosher Butcher or the title unification, please do so, 760-512-7247. Guys, let's talk about the first match we had this evening. It was another excellent six-man tag featuring the Shield going against the team of Goldust, Cody Rhodes, and Rey Mysterio. I didn't write down the finish, but I'm assuming that the Shield won this because I remember them standing tall at the end. I guess the biggest thing you could say is Roman Reigns, once again, still being featured heavily throughout this match. There was a lot of camera time for him. He had a lot of in-ring time, and he got the finish, didn't he? He got the spear and got the pin?
No, Dean Ambrose got the win after Roman Reigns fucked everybody up.
Okay, that's what happened then.
Yeah, but they was giving him camera time all night. Every fucking segment, they was zoomed on him and just kind of like avoided Ambrose and Seth Rollins.
Like sexy hair and his smile.
Then again, I try and avoid looking at Seth Rollins, so.
Because he might ask you for change or something. Tony, what'd you think of the match?
It wasn't that bad. And the best part of the night, obviously, was just seeing Roman Reigns spear the shit out of Rey Mysterio again. If they could just put that on like every segment, I think I would like it.
What, just have Rey come out at the end of every match just speared?
He just like stands in the ring with like this like sulk, and Roman Reigns just kind of like, just plows through him.
Maybe the Los Matadores can have the fucking like the bull, the red flag, and taunt Reigns to come spear Rey Mysterio.
Just use it every time you go to commercial instead of Michael Cole being like, that was Raw rolls on. Just go cut to the commercial break of Rey Mysterio getting speared every time. You're like, it must be a commercial because Roman Reigns just speared him.
The Raw rebound for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Drew, what'd you think of the match tonight?
I liked it. It wasn't as good as what we had last night, but it was still very good. Like all of you guys said, Roman Reigns is obviously the standout in the group, and what happened later tonight, it looks like that we might be getting a Shield Wyatt program going on later. So I just want to know, when is Reigns going to go single and just drop these two clowns, because he is looks like the golden boy for the future. He's perfect, and I love him now.
Steven, what did you think of the Shield's performance tonight, as long as the other guys?
As far as the match quality goes, it was a solid match. It wasn't anything spectacular, but it kept my attention. It was good to see not just Roman Reigns looking strong, but Dean Ambrose looking very strong in this match too, getting the finish at the end. So overall, I was happy with it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to be doing with the Shield based on stuff we saw later.
Tony, what do you think is going to be the future for the Shield and this team that they face? Are they going to continue feuding with these, or was this the blow-off?
I don't know. That whole thing with Punk really is confusing me. And I don't know if maybe even WWE necessarily has an idea of what they're going to do, but I don't think that we will have any idea of where things are going until they announce whatever match they're going to have for at TLC. Because they could just have him and Daniel Bryan face the Wyatt family in some kind of capacity or whatever. But throwing in the Shield, I got to assume that they have no ties anymore to Goldust and Cody Rhodes. And the Usos were just kind of there for filler. And Rey Mysterio was there to kind of get him on the card too. So that's tough. I really don't have a clue what they're doing. And it might be because they fucking switched everything up right before Survivor Series even. So this is just kind of like a crapshoot. I guess you could throw darts at a,
As long as we get the Shield in a TLC match again, I'll be happy.
Well, they can't even make up their mind if they want the Miz to be babyface or heel, but we'll get to that in just a second. Before we got to that, though, we were informed that we are going to get the opportunity to vote for what stipulation is going to be for the match between Damien Sandow and Dolph Ziggler. It's either going to be a Strong Island street fight, a Long Island lumberjack match, or a Hamptons hardcore match. So, are they just going to keep doing this every week? Are they going to be like the three-man band where they have this new thing where they're just doing the same thing but slightly different every week?
Fuck, if it gets them on TV, I'm okay with it.
So next we went into our MizTV segment. The Miz introduces Michael Strahan. But we do not get Michael Strahan. We get Titus O'Neil coming out with what looked like electrical tape just put over his two front teeth to make him look like he's Michael Strahan. He pretends he's the guy for a while, but eventually the real Michael Strahan comes out. He first announces that the main event of the night is going to be Randy Orton and Alberto Del Rio against Big Show and John Cena. Eventually, attitudes start raising, and Michael Strahan and The Miz get in each other's faces. Miz says that he challenges him to take a hip toss, but Michael Strahan is unable to take it. Miz says, he's being stiff. Thanks, Miz. Go ahead and drop that out there. Why don't you just talk about how he's getting his shit in, too. Right, Steven?
Ugh, fucking hate that phrase.
Eventually, I think it was the third time The Miz went to do the hip toss. Strahan decided to do a hip toss of his own. Then Titus O'Neil comes along, starts trying to dance with him, doing the millions of dollars dance. But Michael Strahan hip tosses Titus O'Neil, too. Then they all embrace, they hug, and they do the PTP dance together. What?
This is it's the most confusing thing ever.
One of the most fucking random segments. They should just have MizTV come out and he just basically breaks kayfabe every week and just proves that wrestling's fake each week.
I don't know if I liked this. I really don't. I really don't know how to feel about this segment. I am so utterly confused.
And I don't know what it accomplished. I mean, we thought Miz was a heel, then he's not a heel. And then Titus was a heel, but then he wasn't a heel. And Strahan, or whatever his name is, looks like a tool no matter what.
Well,
he was making funny voices the whole time.
Yeah.
What the fuck? We're not wrong.
What were you going to say, Drew?
Maybe this is going to be the beginning of the push of Strahan into the WWE, but hopefully not. That'd be terrible.
Push him off a cliff.
The next Mike Tyson.
How interesting that they got Titus O'Neil involved in this. You have to think it's like, okay, who on this roster can we pretend is Michael Strahan?
Rey Mysterio.
Obviously. I'm surprised they didn't go with Ezekiel Jackson. He probably could have pulled it off.
He's probably not backstage.
Yeah, but he can't talk.
They only have one black guy though, so you know.
No, they have Young. They could have brought him out. You know?
Drew, can you educate us on who Michael Strahan even is?
Yes, Michael Strahan was a defensive end for the New York Giants. That's why that's the only reason why they did it in New York, because it was in New York. So and also when Miz dropped his little thing about how the Giants were far from the playoffs, everyone booed because they're not going to be in the playoffs. Oh, Strahan also is a Super Bowl champion and a former Defensive Player of the Year. He's pretty good.
So is he big enough deal that he actually would have maybe brought in some extra ratings for them tonight?
No. Maybe in New York, but not anywhere else. He retired a few years ago. You know, I don't...
So this is basically like TNA bringing in Tito and Rampage.
No.
I would say they have a bigger following.
Yeah, well, it's
especially
weird.
from a wrestling audience.
You know, if you're not into wrestling and you watch his show in the mornings, but his show's not that good. Like, I don't hear people telling me how good his show he does in the morning is, so I don't know. All I know he does is from the Subway commercials. That's like the only thing I get from him now.
He's on Kelly and Michelle?
Kelly and...
McHale?
McHale? No, who knows?
What? I'm as confused about this guy as I am about this segment.
Yeah, I just figured that it couldn't hurt. You have somebody with the Kelly and Michael show, and maybe somebody can watch it for that. Maybe sports fans will watch it, or maybe at the very least it'll just get them coverage on like Entertainment Tonight or something like that by going, hey, Michael Strahan was on here.
And he hip-tossed the Miz.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, the segment didn't offend me as much as it just confused me.
I think that's the ultimate thing. It wasn't a bad segment. I would still say it's WrestleCraft worthy, but it was that kind of bad that's good and enjoyable. This wasn't Diva's musical chairs by a long shot.
Well, the thing is, what else were you going to do with Michael Strahan?
Have Joe shoot him?
Yeah. Like, there's not much else you could do with him. I mean, unless you were going to reenact a football game, which would have been god-awful.
Well, so apparently you put a goat mask on him.
This really just intrigued me. Tony, what did you think about this segment?
What the fuck is going on with The Miz?
That's one of the bigger questions, yes.
I'm watching it and I'm like, oh, okay, he's coming out and he seems a little cocky and whatever, so he must be an actual heel, even though last night at Survivor Series he seemed more like a babyface. But they're showing you that he was a complete dick to Kofi Kingston and didn't go for the tag, and that's what a heel does. They haven't justified it in any way, like, oh, he thought that Kofi was being a dick, so he, you know, I'm like, all right, he's got to be a heel. Titus O'Neil comes out, and it's like, I guess Titus is a heel now, too, and he's going to be just turning either on Darren Young, or they're just making him solo, or what. And within this whole Michael Strahan thing, they've got him talking to them as if they're heels, so it's backing it up. And then they go for a hug. And the whole thing just crumbles. And now I'm utterly confused.
See, I couldn't quite tell if he was going against him as heels, though. Like, it was almost kind of also see him, like, you know, locker room ribbing. Where he's like, yo, if you're going to do the gap, you got to do the gap right. You got to be confident with the gap.
You know, the good thing about this segment is the fans weren't dead. I mean, if they were, like, totally dead, this would have really stunk up the joint.
Go ahead, Drew.
Well, no, what I was going to say is... That gap he has, that's, I guess, recognizable enough because he gets a lot of people like the gap for some reason, so that's something I should have said about him. But the weird thing was about this segment was that also the Miz was trying to draw cheap heat from the whole Giants thing. And then, like, his heel turn reminds me of Alberto Del Rio's face turn where he was face, and then he ran over Santa Claus, it was heel again. And that was weird on its own, and now it's more confusing. So the Miz is just in poop hell right now.
Are you saying the Miz should run over Santa Claus?
Yeah, I think it would work. I mean, the holiday season's coming up. You never know what could happen. Maybe it could be Mick Foley again.
All right, guys, we got a caller on the line. We're gonna bring him on. Yeah. Caller from 830. You're on the Monday Night Raw post show. What's your name and where you're calling from?
This is Texas Jeff, man. I haven't called you guys in a while.
Oh, Texas Jeff from Texas. How you doing, man? What'd you think of tonight's Raw?
Doing good, man. It's the first show I sat through in a while, at least a month or month and a half or so. But I actually enjoyed it, man. It was cool.
What was your favorite part?
Well, if Mark Henry wouldn't have looked like Rick Ross, that'd be my favorite part. Just seeing him walk out again was cool. But
you lost a lot of weight too. Good for Mark Henry.
Yeah, he looks good, man. And I like what they're doing with him.
What do you think about the upcoming unification situation?
I think it's good. I hadn't really given much thought, but I was listening to some of you guys' ideas, and it'd be cool. My friend kind of put in my mind that they were doing it too soon or whatever, that they should do it at WrestleMania, but I don't really care, to be honest. It's fine with me, whatever they decide to do. I'm just glad I was able to sit through a show and wasn't falling asleep and stuff. It was pretty fun, even the stuff I didn't think I would like the stuff with celebrities and stuff. It was fun.
So I'm guessing you didn't watch Survivor Series last night.
No, I just my buddy was watching it, telling me about it, but I couldn't be bothered to watch it. I've been playing my GameCube a lot lately on all my free time.
Nice. I think that all worked out as a big plus for you, because I think if I recall here, every single match except for the Xavier Woods Heath Slater match is some form of a rematch, either from last night's Survivor Series or from last week's Raw, which is one thing I think that made the show seem a little stale. But minus that, I think a lot of the matches could have been really enjoyable if you didn't have that thought in your head, oh, I just saw this last night.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it was a good show, though, man. I liked it.
What did you think about Mr. Michael Strahan's involvement?
My friend is so racist, man. He thought I wasn't watching yet. I was watching, but I was making some food and stuff, and he thought that Titus O'Neil was Michael Strahan, and like I had and I had a quick glimpse, and I just kind of agreed with it. So I guess I'm racist too. I don't know, but I wasn't really paying attention too much, but it was pretty funny. Like I didn't really know if Miz was. I didn't know what he was doing, but it was he. At least, like somebody said just a minute ago, at least the crowd was semi into it, or it would have been just a flop. But
rely on them.
Yeah.
So
like I don't see why people. I don't see why people go to shows, man, and they're just dead all the time. Like if it was a bad show or something, I could understand, but you see so many shows, and just the crowd ruins it for me, man.
Yeah, you pay all that money to go there. You're in this awesome experience surrounded by all these people. There's loud music. There's explosions. There's excitement. Like, I don't know how people just go to these events to sit in your hands. You're absolutely correct. I was going to ask you, you're from Texas, of course. I'm assuming football is a big thing for you in your area, correct?
For most people. I'm more of an MMA guy myself, but I do dabble in football a little bit.
Okay, because I was going to ask what the Michael Strahan relation was for you. Did you have any beef with him, being that he was a New York football player?
I couldn't care less, to be honest, man.
Okay.
I've seen him on NFL Network and stuff. He seems like a pretty witty, funny guy, so he's cool to me. I don't care.
Oh, that's cool, man. That's a stand-up response. So let me ask you, what was your high point of tonight's show, and what was your low point of tonight's Raw?
Low point was the Divas, I guess, but that's like a given. I just don't care about them, man, and they don't seem like they want me to care about them, so I'm not going to care about them. My high point was probably seeing Mark Henry walk out again, man. That's the one thing I wish I would have saw last night, man. I don't know if that would have been worth it.
Surprise.
Yeah, I don't know if it would have been worth the $50, but it would have definitely been cool to see, man. And,
it was definitely one of the higher points of last night. When Ryback came out, he made an open challenge, and we had all our thoughts running through his head, who could it possibly be? But I don't think anyone saw Mark Henry coming out there, and especially with such a different-looking Mark Henry. Like you said, he had the Rick Ross look, shaved head, the beard was still there. He looked like he lost a good amount of weight. He looks great.
Man, the fucking back of his neck looks like a tumor, though.
Do you guys think he's going to get one WWE title run or no?
Not now with the unification.
Not immediately. If he sticks around, I believe he just signed a 3-year contract earlier this year. I think it's possible. If he can get that fire back up, I think he could do it.
That'd be awesome, man. I would buy every pay-per-view he main events. Just to show WWE that I like. I don't know, man. I always liked Mark Henry, man. He's been a workhorse for that company for years, no matter what he was doing, no matter what stupid stuff they had him doing or serious stuff, and he was always good, man. And, I mean, that guy won a Grammy last year, or was it earlier this year? I don't know, when he slammed Cena. That was cool, man. That was like one of my favorite things in wrestling in a long time, when he was crying and stuff like that. That was cool, man.
I just think it's funny you said he won a Grammy and he looks like Rick Ross.
Yeah. And, like, my friend didn't like that when he slammed Cena. He said it was too obvious. And I told my friend, I was like me, I try to turn my brain off for wrestling. I don't try to think about the stuff that's going to happen. Like when Triple H turned on Daniel Bryan and pedigreed him, it surprised me because I wasn't even thinking about it. We need to dumb ourselves down a little bit and not quit trying to be so smart and knowing what's going to happen. And then you're always going to be disappointed, so you have no right to complain.
Thank you, man. That's the viewpoint I've always had. We're fans. You know, we're not people in the business. We have no right to even be saying some of the things that some of those people say when they're criticizing and nitpicking every little thing about the shows. You know, it's not to say you have to like everything, because let's face it, a lot of stuff is pretty dreadful. But, you know, more often than not, I think at the end of these shows you can feel entertained, and there's very little reason why you shouldn't at the end.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for having me on, guys, and you keep doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much for calling, Jeff. Anytime, man. We're always here for you. Take care, dude.
Cool. You guys have a good night.
All right, Texas Jeff, one of our favorite callers here in the Monday Night Raw post-show. Anyone else you would like to call in and do the same, give your thoughts about what went down on tonight's Raw, area code 760-512-7247. That's area code 760-512-7247. All right, guys, I think we can stop talking about that confusing mess that was MizTV, and we can move on to Texas Jeff's favorite dude, Mark Henry, making his return to Monday Night Raw, teaming up with MC Hammer, Biggie Langston, to go against the team of not Curtis Axel guys, Ryback and Curtis Axel. Or did I say not Paul Heyman guys.
Not Curtis. He's not even Curtis Axel anymore. They care that little about him that they take his name away.
Yeah, you're demoted back to Michael McGillicuddy.
Or they just announce him as not Curtis Axel.
Didn't we have that joke for a while where everyone was going to be Michael McGillicuddy if they was fucking useless enough?
Did we? I don't know. That sounds like something we'd probably say. But this match was pretty short. Ended with Mark Henry getting the world's strongest slam on Curtis Axel for the pin. I tell you what, man, we got all excited about that Ryback victory over Great Khali. But I don't think Ryback's future is looking too bright anymore. Steven, what do you think?
Future WWE champion.
Oh, okay.
Nah, I still think there's a rebuilding process. I don't think he's ever going to be what he should have been, but yeah. As far as Mark Henry coming back, I'm all for it. He's one of those guys that brings legitimacy to everything that he does. Out of every pro wrestler on that roster, the last one I'd like to walk into an alley to is fucking Mark Henry. Guy is scary. He just looks weird now that he's bald. As I said, like the back of his neck looks like it's like a fucking tumor. It's all weird. There's not much to say about this other than I'm just enjoy watching Curtis Axel job out.
Tony, you happy to see Mark Henry back?
I love Mark Henry. I think that he deserves a lot more credit than a lot of people give him. I don't know if necessarily he's going to end up making a lot of waves and doing anything important for anything coming up. I thought originally that he was going to be the next person to challenge Randy Orton for the title, but that kind of went to shit in the first 5 minutes of this episode, so I don't know. And if he is serving that upper mid-card main event slot, he's perfect for it. And if he helps Biggie Langston get some kind of rub from it, then even better. And as far as the other team, Curtis Axel, he is fucked. And that was that last chance of him having a decent career. He's more of a tag team person now from my perspective. And Ryback, Skip Sheffield didn't work. And then they repackaged him as Ryback. And they didn't let that work. So maybe he's going to get repackaged again as not Ryback, and maybe that'll work.
Maybe you can do a hybrid and be Skip back.
Drew, is there any future for Ryback and Curtis Axel?
Ryback, maybe, depending on what they do with him from here on out. Axel, no. And I hate to say that because I just picked him up for the fantasy team. But, I don't see much from him in the future.
Well, hey, there always could have been that possibility that they decided to put that title back on Curtis Axel in the Survivor Series.
They could.
It wasn't impossible. They could have done it. Thank goodness they didn't. But
yeah, but I'm also for the match. Like you guys said, it was short, but I'm also glad that Mark Henry's back. Even though with his recent history of being injured, he could only be back for a few months, like Rey Mysterio is. But hopefully that's not the case because Mark Henry is one of my favorite people on the mic, especially as of late. I don't know why he's just been golden this year, and I really hope that what they do with him from here on out is good. I don't see him as maybe a WWE champion in the future, but, he could help out a lot in the upper mid-card spot. But, I do have a question that is actually relevant now that Ryback and Mark Henry were in a match together. Was it the right move for Henry to win at WrestleMania now?
Absolutely not.
Nope. I think that was almost a final nail in Ryback's face for him.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought, but I didn't know what you guys would say, so...
I got a question. What happens to Curtis Axel now? Is he going back to NXT, or do you think he'll just be a job guy like 3MB?
Job.
Enhancement talent, I believe we should use the proper term. Although Brian the Brain says in the chat room, Axel will one day for about 2 seconds be a WWE champion. He's gonna get
when Cena goes, hey, can you hold this for a second?
Thanks, buddy.
You know, I would not mind seeing Axel and Ryback in a tag team because, you know, why the hell not? Just call him Axe back or something like that.
Maybe he just becomes the WWE champion for 2 minutes when he's playing WWE 2014 or 2K14. Yeah, and even in the game, they take it away from him because they're like, you're fucking Curtis Axel.
He doesn't even have a character in the game. He'll just have to make himself and look all fucked up.
He's playing as John Cena, and that's why he wins the title. He's like, yay, I won, finally.
Oh, my goodness gracious. Mark Henry, is he at that point in his career where he's going to be a babyface for the remainder of his time there? Is it going to be too hard to get people to boo him?
No, he can turn heel again. If they run out of heels, like if they ever do, because right now they've got plenty of them, but if they ever find themselves needing a monster heel for a babyface, they'll make him heel again for a few months before he turns face again. That's what his role is for now until he retires.
All right, let's move on to yet another rematch. And matter of fact, there's nothing even remotely different about this match. It's a Diva Survivor Series rematch. Yep, all 14 women brought out once again for a single elimination style tag team matchup. Well, at least we could say it moved fast. Tamina ended up actually looking really strong again. That is until she was pinned by JoJo, so that kind of erased that.
Aww.
The final survivor for the heel team ended up being Summer Rae. They ended up replaying the dance-off that they had last night between the Bella and Summer Rae, where she was doing her ballroom dancing, and then the Bella did the worm. Eventually, Summer tries to escape through the ring, but she is guarded by all corners from the remainders on the babyface Total Divas team. Eventually, Nikki Bella picks her up for a torture rack drop finisher backbreaker thing and gets the pin.
That's the best rack I've ever seen.
It was indeed the best rack I've ever seen. And it was what it was, I guess. I think this was entertaining. I think.
It was better than last night.
Oh, yeah, I guess so. I liked how the only thing JoJo can do is a roll up, and that's the only purpose she served in the past 2 nights.
I thought JoJo was hilarious last night when Nikki Bella crawled to the corner and looked up at her, and she just like hesitantly but bravely stuck her hand out.
Yeah,
I thought that was excellent.
The only thing I'll complain about this match is that like it just looks like AJ's just completely useless now, and the Divas title just is playing second fiddle to the Total Divas show now, which I think is stupid.
Well, no, in a lot of ways she's leading the offensive against it. I mean, did you see that pre-match speech that she gave to the other Divas last night? It was excellent.
Yeah, but it didn't happen this night though, and like she was, I just don't understand anything with WWE right now, so maybe I'm just stupid.
The only reason I think this match even happened is because the announcers totally fucking botched on who the survivors were the team last night, and they needed to solidify that the Bellas can win.
Well, that brings me to a point I wanted to bring up, and I brought this in our chat up. Brought this up in our chat earlier. Is it just me, or does it seem like they're starting to differentiate the Bellas a little bit? Like they're trying to give them their own personalities. They're starting to dress a little different. If you look at Brie, she's still wearing the old raver attire with the fluffy boots and the regular top she's wearing. But Nikki, she's turned into this like sporty tomboy girl where she's wearing these thigh-high socks and the backwards baseball caps and the jersey T-shirts.
They probably are trying to make them different, and that might work into a Cena versus Bryan feud down the line. But hey, since they're heels right now, it makes sense that they're not doing the twin magic stuff. So
this is true. Tony, you got anything you want to add about the Divas match?
I actually thought last night's was better. I disagree with Drew. And this match, it did what it was supposed to do. It just got the Divas on the card again. It kind of was that half-assed sort of mentality where they were like, well, we don't really want to put a whole lot of effort into this. Let's just kind of do the same thing we did last night.
Yeah.
And people aren't going to complain.
Whole last night, and I agree with you. The last night was better because of Naomi. Man, Naomi was awesome last night.
They don't give Naomi enough credit. She should actually be somebody that challenges for the title at some point.
You just like her ass.
Yes. I would like to
Shake
say
what a mama gave her.
I like to say something really quickly. I did not say I like this match better. That was Steven who said that.
Okay, never mind then. Well, then I disagree with Steven. But
fuck you. I disagree with Drew anyway.
Yeah, why not?
I don't even know what I said.
But the funny thing that I thought that happened in this match was last night, Eva Marie didn't get any kind of a win, but JoJo, she did eliminate somebody, right?
No.
Last night? I thought
she eliminated someone tonight. She eliminated Tamina tonight. I don't know if she got a pin last night.
I thought that she had pinned Tamina or something. I don't know, whatever it was. But they kind of like went out of their way to make sure that Eva got a pin because it was like, she didn't last night, so let's make sure that she eliminates somebody.
Yeah. How about when Eva Marie got tagged into the match, the entire crowd starts booing this girl. Michael Cole on commentary is like, everyone booing her because of the action she did on Total Divas this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why they're booing her.
Yeah, shit. That's why she's being booed. Fuck her.
I think it's funny that the women in WWE are, for the most part, smaller than, obviously, the men. And, you know, it's not something that, like, you really pay that much attention to because it's just like, somebody like AJ, she's real tiny, and, of course, she's going to look even tinier standing next to somebody like a John Cena. But then when you look at JoJo standing next to the rest of the women, it's like, holy shit, she looks even smaller than them. Like, I kind of want to see this, like, size chart comparison of every superstar in WWE right now and see where, in the comparison of El Torito and Hornswoggle and the Great Khali and Rey Mysterio and JoJo, like, where everybody fits. Because JoJo, my God, she looks like she's 12.
She's smaller than AJ?
Exact age. She's way smaller than AJ.
I'll have to compare them.
Hair. No, she's definitely smaller than AJ.
She makes her hair bigger so she looks more intimidating.
Bryan the Brain, earning his moniker, lets us know that Tamina was pinned by JoJo both nights.
Okay. So we just got to figure out now, if JoJo looks 12, does AJ look like 17?
Yes. That's actually about the age I would put AJ.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This just made me feel really dirty. So we're going to move on. The Slammies have been announced to be happening in 2 weeks.
Woo!
Yeah, we're finally getting those awards back. I like the Slammies. I missed them a lot when they didn't do it for that long period of time between the late 90s and the mid-2000s.
So do we get 4 hours now?
I hope not. Oh, my goodness. So we come back from commercial. We see that Damien Sandow is in the ring with Jerry Lawler. Lawler's about to announce the winner of the WWE app poll, but Sandow steals the mic away from him before he can. He says that he is above doing a circus match like that at the request of miscreants like those in the audience. Fun little thing he got in there. The winner ended up being the Hamptons hardcore match, and the ring is filled with golf clubs and tennis rackets and barrels of tennis balls and paddles and buoys and basically rich white people stuff.
Yeah, except cheap-ass Walmart tennis rackets. Those things aren't good at all.
Oh, thanks, tennis hipster.
Hey, you're welcome. You know me. I just want to clarify things, that's all.
I guess this was fun. I don't think it was as good as last week's country band hardcore match. But Sandow ends up getting the win this week after performing the You're Welcome onto a garbage can, which looked pretty sick, the way it just indented. And then he couldn't even get Ziggler out of the garbage can to do the pin. He had to literally peel him up and throw the garbage can away. It was a fun little thing. But, Drew, what did you think about this match we had tonight besides nitpicking on the tennis rackets?
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I like the match. It wasn't as good as the one they had last week. But I just liked how it ended. I just loved how, he hit Ziggler with, the boat paddle and just breaks in half. I'm like, oh dang. And then I don't recall, but did the tennis balls ever come into play at all?
I did not see the tennis ball. I was like, how are they going to work this in? Is he going to shove a tennis ball into his mouth or something?
No, I just wish at one point he just start throwing tennis balls in defense. I thought that'd be amazing, but
no, he had to take the tennis racket and then whack the tennis balls at his opponent.
I was in and out of this match, but did he do a Jim Cornette tribute like how he did a Jeff Jarrett tribute with the guitar?
I did not say. How would you even do a Jim Cornette tribute?
I don't know, just shout something smarky before you hit him.
Maybe he just did a tribute to the whole Kerwin White thing, because wasn't he Chavo's caddy?
Oh, I didn't even think of it that way.
He could have just shouted, fuck Wendy's and then hit him with it.
He just does the TNA face. Botchamania.
I know what you're on about.
Tony, what did you think about this matchup we had tonight? This gimmicky, crazy white men matchup.
It was fun. I mean, it wasn't as good as last week, and it's still something where I wish that the two of these guys had something more important to do, but what the hell? I mean, I'm game for hardcore matches, especially with two people that I enjoy watching, so I liked it.
I think these are two of the best professionals that you could put out there and do something like this. You know, the other person I could think that you would really fit in would be like a Kofi Kingston. Let's move on then. We get Renee Young introducing CM Punk and Daniel Bryan down to the ring. CM Punk starts asking a bunch of yes or no questions, allowing Bryan to respond with a yes. It was cheesy, but, it was kind of fun. CM Punk actually caught himself a little bit of fire there, talking about why they're the best tag team ever, and he even drops a little name drop for his good buddy Colt Cabana tonight on Raw. Little boy smiling in New York City.
Man, I love this promo. I was really happy to see Punk actually seem like he gives a fuck for once.
I wouldn't go that far, but he seemed like he was having fun, probably because he's out there with his buddy Daniel Bryan.
Yeah, whatever it is, I was glad to see it. I had a lot of fun with this segment.
Yeah, the one thing I liked was like he started naming like tag team names they could have. I'm like, ooh, maybe they could do a tag team with them, which I hope they do now.
It could be something they reunite down the line, because they have that name, the Best in the Beard. It's kind of like the Rock and Sock. It's kind of like two established upper-level singles guys coming together later in their career. I like when they do things like that. The two-man power trip was another example. Brothers of Destruction.
And they're such a good fit as a tag team. It's not like they're really that odd and different. They both come from the indies. They both are regarded as the two best in the company as far as the internet fans go. So I like these two being together. They work well. They gel well too. Indeed.
So we had the matchup between them and all three members of the Wyatt family this time, as opposed to last night where it was just Harper and Rowan. The match ends in a DQ when the Wyatts flood the ring. The Wyatts, at the end of it, end up lifting Daniel Bryan up and kidnapping him all the way to the outside, very similar to how we saw happen to Kane. So a complete mystery of what's going to be happening to Daniel Bryan. And immediately after, we see CM Punk starting to crawl his way towards the entranceway. But before he gets too far, he is exploded from off-screen with a spear by Roman Reigns. And the rest of the Shield comes in and continues to lay the beatdown on him. The Shield and the Wyatt family both targeting CM Punk and Daniel Bryan. Not looking good for either of them, but where's this going to go? I mean, is Daniel Bryan being sacrificed? Who are both of these people working behalf? Are they working together, or is this all just coincidence, or is this eventually just recruiting their armies to go against each other? Oh, my God, there's so many questions. Tony, give me some answers.
All right, well, it's good to see that CM Punk was able to recover after literally being exploded by Roman Reigns. He put all the pieces back together, and he's going to be fine. Don't worry. I think the only way that this is going to go is Daniel Bryan is going to come back, and he's going to attack The Miz, and then he's going to join the Authority, because that's apparently what happens when the Wyatt family kidnaps you. You completely forget about it, and you don't feud with them, because that's what Kane did. I don't know where they're planning on taking this. If they are going to just have Daniel Bryan face three people and CM Punk face three people, this is going to get really odd. And if they bring other people on board, they have to figure out a way to bring them on board instead of just having them go, oh, and now my partners are Xavier Woods and R-Truth, or anything like that. And I don't know if they even have a plan. I think that this is kind of one of those things where they're like, shit, we need to figure out something to do with these guys. How about they kidnap them, and fuck, we got a couple days. We'll figure this out.
Steven, where are you seeing this going?
I'm really confused right now. I was like, when thinking about Range Spear and CM Punk, damn it, that's what we wanted to happen with Rey Mysterio. But I don't know where they're going to go with this. How fucked could you be? You're targeted by the Wyatt family, and then you're targeted by the Shield. It's truly between a rock and a hard place, and I'm hoping it's just going to be a feud between the Wyatts and the Shield, and Punk and Daniel Bryan end up being the two guys that get fucked out of all of this, basically trying to prove their dominance over the two of them, and basically they're the meat they're fighting between. It could be really interesting. I'm wondering where they're going to go with this, because it's really confusing.
What do you think about the standout performance tonight by Luke Harper?
Ugh, fuck Luke Harper.
Yo, real talk. I mean, I want to reserve most of this for the full review that we're going to be doing on Smack Talk this Friday. But I did change my opinion a little bit about Eric Rowan last night. He's not a completely worthless sack of shit.
He's better than Luke Harper.
He's not better than Luke Harper, but he's not a completely worthless sack of shit.
They're both worthless sack of shit.
I'll tell you where he grew on me, too. There's this moment in the match where he goes to do a splash, and he jumps up really high. He tucks himself in tight and then fell down. It was one of the best splashes I think we see in the company right now.
And I like that bear hook spot he did in the match tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Where he ragdolled. Who was it? I don't know who he ragdolled.
I think it was CM Punk. I don't know. But I remember. It was pretty good.
His offense is a lot more fun to watch than Luke Harper's, but that's not saying much because both their offenses are pretty
I disagree.
boring.
Luke Harper's got a sick big boot. He could do those elbows in the corner pretty well, better than Diesel, I think, used to.
I don't mind the Gator roll. I just find his general offense boring. I just think he should add a little more to it.
The Gator roll, I think, could work. I think it needs some tweaking, and it probably has to be on the right star doing it on. And I think it's more of a babyface move, too.
Dolph Ziggler could make that move look really really good if he was selling it.
Mm-hmm. But, Drew, how'd you feel about this whole thing?
The match was okay, but the aftermath, it just made me confused because I don't know how they're going to, like, incorporate all this into one storyline or if they're going to separate it into two. Like, I don't, like, they didn't really, like, hopefully they clarify this later, but they didn't say whether or not the Shield and Wyatt were working together or not, or if it was just coincidence that they attacked at the same time. So, I would like it to, like, maybe like the Shield and the Wyatt have like some type of like a little bit of a push and shove type of thing going on later, and maybe what I would do would like maybe get another tag team involved, and they could just have like a 4-team tag match or with some like type of stipulation at TLC. You know, I think that'd be something they could do for it, but I don't know what they could really do because it's just really confusing. We'll just have to see what they do next week on Raw.
Yeah. All right, so the confusion continues as we go into Kofi Kingston versus The Miz. Admittedly, these guys had a fun, tight little match. Miz ends up winning with a roll-up, and at the end, Kofi gives this expression where he looks really pissed off. Miz had this really cheesy smile and not a heel smile, and throughout this whole match, I honestly couldn't tell who was working what. This whole situation, I just do not understand what's happening with The Miz or Kofi, for that matter. I think Kofi's still kind of face at the moment, but those signs are certainly showing themselves.
The only thing we can agree on is these two have got fucking chemistry when they work together.
Yes, I can agree to that. Steven, why don't you go ahead and take over with the thoughts on this match and the dynamic that we're seeing develop with this?
I hope that Kofi doesn't turn heel just because you'll rub it in my face that you were right and I was wrong.
Well, the thing is, when I said double turn, it was like as a joke, and I've just been like pushing it to force the joke more. But now it's like actually developing. I'm like, oh, what's going on here?
I can actually run with this.
Yeah.
But, shit, it's like, I don't know if it's just going to be two faces that have just got into some hostility and now they're kind of in shades of grey and they're just going to let the fans pick who they're going to go with. I'd actually like that, but I like Kofi actually having a bit more emotion than, I'm going to smile, I'm going to do my pyro, I'm going to kick you in the face, and then I'm going to go back to the back. It's finally nice seeing his character have a bit more diversity, and it doesn't matter if the Miz is face or heel, he comes off looking like a fucking tool no matter what. He just seems like a really cunty person. So, shit, I don't know where they're going to go with this. I think they're just going to let these guys feud with each other and see what the fans want. If they have picked someone to turn heel, it's more likely going to be Kofi just from his reactions and stuff. But it's just from the get-go at the beginning of the show, where in that MizTV segment where he was acting as a heel, then as a face in the Kofi match. It's really fucking confusing. And then they're showing...
Even that pre-match segment where he was with the chick from Christmas Bounty?
Yeah, and then they're showing the fucking video package of the week before where Miz acted like a cunt to Kofi and left him high and dry. So... I have no idea where they're going to go. I have no confidence in one way or the other. I'm on for the idea that they just let the fans decide.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's where they're going. Tony, how do you decipher this whole situation?
I don't think that they really know what they're going to do, and it's kind of the same as with the whole thing with Daniel Bryan and all that. I think they're sort of like testing the waters back and forth just to see what gets a reaction. But what I hope happens, and this is really kind of weird because I would have said the opposite a few weeks ago, I hope they both turn heel.
Ooh.
And maybe not necessarily anything where like they turn heel and they have like a heel-on-heel feud, but I've been saying for a long time that Kofi should turn heel just for something different, but The Miz as a babyface was something I was a real fan of, and they screwed the pooch with it. So now I'm starting to think that if he turns heel, he might have a better future as well. And I like both these guys, so whatever happens, whether they're heels or faces or one's one and one's the other one, as long as it works out for them, I'll be fine with it. But the last thing I want to happen is for them both to be going back and forth between heel and babyface, and it turns out that they're both just babyfaces. Somebody needs to turn.
Indeed. I think it's really interesting. One of the first things I did after picking up WWE 2K14 is I made up a stable called the Boom Squad, led by a heel Kofi Kingston, along with a heel Miz and a heel R-Truth, where they all turned heel because they were sick of not being taken seriously as these white bread baby faces. So they went into something with a much more of an edge and blah 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 blah. Maybe they're following my game. Yeah, maybe they're looking at the WWE 2K14 servers, being like, "Oh, this Mike Paden kid, he's onto something with his WWE Universe mode."
Maybe they just play WWE Universe mode, and that's where they're getting all their booking ideas from.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, what is this shit with Curtis Axel as the champion?
No. Drew, how you feeling about this current situation? Are you rooting for Kofi or Miz?
Honestly, I think that what Mango said and what you kind of said about both of them turning heel, and then, I kind of could see it maybe forming a tag team because they'd be like, oh man, we both hate each other, but we're very good at slapping each other, so we should be heels in a tag team.
And we could slap other people together.
No, I
Slap
think
squad.
You could call them like the Awesome Boom or something stupid and retarded like that. But I was either going to say that or the Nation of Domination and just like end it from right there. But, I think they both will turn heel. I think it'd be interesting if they do a tag team with each other as well.
Only if Miz wears a do-rag.
What do you think about the name Really High?
RVD gonna join?
Yeah, RVD just goes, wait, can I come back?
Jack Swagger's gonna take it from Cesaro.
Cesaro's left on his own. That actually brings me to another thing I wanted to mention. Bryan the Brain in the chat room mentioning a fantasy booking situation for a TLC, the Shield versus the Wyatts versus the Rhodes family versus the Best in the Beard versus the Real Americans and a Tornado Tag Team Tables match. And I would agree with that, only I would make it a ladder match. And that could be your tag team title match. That's 5 teams.
Yeah, I'd shave a team off.
I would shave a team too. I think
the Real Americans, fuck them off.
Yeah, if anything, I guess you have to have the Rhodes family because of the tag team champ.
Well, I'd either say do that or like maybe get rid of the use, like put the uses in.
Yeah, if I had a 6 team or fuck off the 5th team.
Yeah, either of those would have worked. Either way, I think that would be exciting. I think we have such an awesome tag division to not do, even if you just do it as a throwback to the great tag team ladder matches we had in the early 2000s, I think it would be an excellent thing to have on your TLC card.
Yeah, even if to be quite honest, I could enjoy that with just the Shield and the Usos and the Rhodes, those 3 in that ladder match. That would be really nice.
All right, so oh my God. So Jerry Lawler is outside interviewing this family at ringside.
Dr. Honeckerberger's family.
Exactly. First thing I noticed is there's all these Jewish symbols on these guys' shirts. It's like, oh, it's Dr. Honeckerberger's family. But no, it's not. It's not Dr. Honeckerberger's family. It's some guy who I guess won the some fund contest that they had for Hurricane Sandy. And he says, yeah, I have my own wrestler name. I already came up with a wrestler persona. I'm the Kosher Butcher. I'm like, oh, yeah, like that isn't offensive enough. Like, you're totally just going with the stereotypical Jewish thing. And then Jerry Lawler asks him, oh, I hear you have a finisher, too. What's the name of your finisher? And he turns the shirt over. I didn't see if he actually says it on the shirt, but he's like, the circumcision.
I saw, like, a chunk of the word on it because they kind of panned away from the T-shirt, but, yeah, it was on there.
It said something like, you're going to get circumcised.
Yeah, that was it.
Jerry Lawler quickly covering up. All right, we're going to have to move on now.
Cut to R-Truth in the ring with just this, the fuck kind of look.
Yeah, and then look, JBL was like, why did you ask him?
When you wheel out R-Truth, you must have really crossed the line.
Yeah.
Well, we're always talking about how some people need new finishers, like Dolph Ziggler or whatever. There you go.
Oh, can Dolph get a Jew gimmick?
Oh, my goodness. one of those unexpected moments on TV. I don't know if that was even planned or if this guy just dropped this bombshell on them or if this whole thing was set up like, here, put on this shirt. We want you to say this because we think it'll get a laugh.
You know what? Here's your money back your band from all WWE events.
Yeah, that's more likely the case. And then the funny thing is, they have a match after this. Xavier Woods versus Heath Slater. Xavier Woods, first off, R-Truth introduces him, and he says, I talked to my boy Brodus Clay and asked him to give a brother a chance. So Xavier Woods comes out to Brodus Clay's music. He comes out with the Funkadactyls.
Funkadactyls?
The Funkadactyls.
The Finkeldactyls. He's coming out with Howard Finkel from now on.
Bumping and grinding.
I just got fucking bad memories of that tuxedo match he had with Lillian Garcia.
Oh, my goodness. And he even took Brodus Clay's pyro. So it seems like Xavier Woods is just being slotted into the Brodus Clay theme, and Brodus Clay is just going to be gone.
Shit, can we have him replace Tenzai? I fucking hate him.
I think he's replacing them both. I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see that crew anymore. Sweet Tea and Brodus Clay.
I love Sweet
Tea. I think the days are done. But Xavier picks up the win against Heath Slater, and after the match, he walks over to the Kosher Butcher and starts posing with him, giving him more exposure. Indecent exposure.
And with that, Xavier was sent back to NXT.
I think Xavier's got a bright future, and I'm glad to have him on Team Paden, because that's what we're about, the future. That's why we ditched Curtis Axel, because he's the future.
Yeah, the future for a few months until WWE realizes they make a mistake.
Yeah, if they bring back a lower mid-card title like a European, he'd fit the belt.
Yeah, I think that belt would actually look good on him. The design and all.
Mm-hmm. The US probably look pretty good on him.
Yeah. You also would look pretty good on him?
The Divas Championship?
No.
All right. Well, speaking of Divas, we see them backstage with Michael Strahan signing footballs. Goldust comes, makes things awkward. Just a pointless backstage segment. Leads us into our main event of the evening. Alberto Del Rio teaming up with the face of the company and WWE champion Randy Orton to take on The Big Show and John Cena. This was boring.
Yeah.
This was boring.
As soon as Del Rio's music hits, you can hear the whole fan base collectively not give a fuck.
I really hope that this crowd got a dark match main event, because this was a terrible main event. The Big Show started feigning some sort of concussion or something. Eventually, Del Rio, though, still loses by tapping out to the STF to John Cena. So even with Big Show down and out, John Cena still pulling the victory over Alberto Del Rio and Randy Orton.
Super Cena.
Yeah, but it was over Del Rio. Not everyone's okay with that, because fuck Del Rio.
This is true. But I don't know. Big Show showing a concussion. Maybe he's going away for a little bit. I don't know. At the least, he's not involved in the world title picture anymore. Thank goddamn goodness. Steven, how you feeling? You got
Big Show going away. Alberto Del Rio getting beat for a shit match. Wasn't that bad? What was more telling was the aftermath of it. I guess it was just kind of cool to see the whole symbolic Orton holding up the two titles afterwards.
Which I'll never see again, so I hope you enjoyed it.
That's true. I'm actually not too down on Orton. I do enjoy him when he's working with the right guys, so hopefully they mix it up a little different going out of this feud with Cena. But as far as this match goes, it was pretty much a stinker up until the end.
Indeed. Drew, you have any more positive thoughts that you might be able to add to this, or are you exactly as negative?
I didn't watch the match.
Okay.
I just tuned in as soon as I saw Big Show down with a concussion. I'm like, what? Big Show down? At least Mark Henry returned, because I'm not a fan of Big Show, but at least I like Mark Henry. So at least they have one big man who's a face there.
Did you tune out as soon as Del Rio came out?
I tuned out before then. I was playing a game on my PS Vita, and I'm like, the match that probably is going to suck as bad as the main event did last night, so I'm tune out.
Tony, did you watch this at least?
No.
See if Del Rio's there, no one gives a fuck.
And as much as I will jump at any chance to jump down the whole fuck Del Rio thing, it was before Del Rio even came out. When they had announced that this was the main event, I didn't give a shit. So at this point, when it was like, oh, now Randy Orton's coming out and we're going to go to the main event, it was like, okay, now I can kind of do something else and get ready for the Raw post show.
Well, hold on. Can I just say that last night's match between Cena and Del Rio was actually not bad?
I wasn't a big fan of it.
Really?
Actually, on my Bleacher Report highlights and low points, I made that a low point.
Yeah, I zoned out of that match. I thought it was pretty much everything we'd seen, but worse.
I thought it was exactly like their Hell in a Cell match, but I like their Hell in a Cell match, so I thought it was good.
Huh. Well then, fuck me, right?
Hey, listen, you're agreeing with the Drew crew, so there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, now he's going to change his opinion now you've said that.
Yeah. Indeed. All right, guys, let's go around here again. Let's get our overall thoughts about tonight's Raw and name your high point of the show and your low point of the show. Drew, start us off, dude.
Confusing as hell. I don't know if it was a bad or good show. It wasn't good, but it wasn't bad, but it was just confusing. The high point would be the circumcision.
Yeah.
The low point, I don't know what the low point would be. It just, I don't know, maybe just Ryback and Axel just being stupid and pointless, I guess.
Yeah, breathing.
Yeah, breathing. That's it.
Steven, high point, low point, overall thoughts of the show.
Nothing offended me on the show, and I'm actually, overall, looking back on it, whilst there was nothing that had me really hooked on the show, I did like the overall product just because I'm interested in watching next week's Raw to see what happens next. And that's something that show does not normally accomplish for me. I am interested in what's happening with the Shield and Wyatt. I'm interested in seeing what happens with The Miz and Kofi Kingston. There's definitely things that I want to see next, and that's a great thing. I don't get that enough in pro wrestling. As far as the high point goes, I'm going to say Kofi versus The Miz. I'm enjoying their feud more than anything on WWE right now. The low point, I'm having a hard time picking a low point because there was nothing that outrageously offended me on the show. Anyone got any suggestions?
Yeah, see, I had a hard time picking that thing because I didn't really recall anything too bad on the show.
Even the Divas weren't that shit tonight.
No. Well, I have mine, but yeah, you got to pick your own.
Oh, fuck, man.
Let's just do what Drew says.
What did Drew say?
Just said curse Axel.
What does the Drew say?
Fuck, but I like Ryback, so, yeah.
Just say curse Axel.
All right.
Curtis Axel, yeah, Curtis Axel's my low point because... No, Del Rio was on the card. Fuck Del Rio. There you go.
Okay. Cody, your overall thoughts and your high point, low point.
High point, Jerry Lawler's comment, that's the best rack I've ever seen, because every once in a while, Lawler just makes a really damn good joke, and that one made me laugh out loud.
Takes you back to the Attitude days.
It does. And the fact that they kind of just, like, swept it under after that, like, they didn't do the whole, like, let's beat it down and just keep going. What's that, Jerry?
The Walrus.
Right. It was just
Walrus.
The flat-out
Walrus.
best rack I've ever seen, and they were like, oh man, tit joke, and then they just move on. Low point, the whole Santino with the sheep mask thing.
Oh, I forgot about that.
The reason why is I hate when they try to go a little bit over the top with their humor, and that's the total difference between the rack joke and this one. You didn't need Santino doing that thing with his lips quivering and that long speech about you put the turkey with the mask on and you throw it away and you eat it or whatever, and that was just stupid. And by the time that segment was over with, I felt like there was absolutely no point. I would have rather had seen a commercial for something.
Asking you shall receive.
Only if they cut to the commercial with the Roman Reigns spearing Rey Mysterio and Dan.
Indeed. For me, I think this was an entertaining show. I think it was, I don't feel like I wasted my Monday night. I feel like it was another episode of Raw, but at the same time, nothing extraordinary. Nothing I feel like, holy shit, this is an amazing episode of Raw that I have to go back and watch. Did I lose you guys again?
No, I'm here.
You guys hear me that whole time?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's fine.
You're talking about how it was entertaining.
Weird.
You lose it.
Did you cut the commercial? Did Roman Reigns just spear Rey Mysterio?
I just heard everything go completely silent. It totally threw me off. It's weird.
That happens when you talk.
It does. Oh, thanks, Dick. My high point, I am going to say, is probably Roman Reigns' spear on CM Punk from Out of Frame. I thought that was amazing. Almost as good. Well, actually, yeah, almost as good as his spear onto Rey Mysterio to end last night's match. Also, an honorable mention to the Kosher Butcher and his finishing move. As far as my low point, I'm going to agree. Pretty much any of those backstage segments with Michael Strahan, whether it's the one with the sheep mask or the one where he's signing footballs for the Divas and fucking Eva Marie comes up, just figured I'd let you know I'm on this show and I wanted you to meet me. Yeah, thanks. So I think it's a fun show if you could have watched it on a DVR and maybe fast-forwarded through a few segments. And once again, I feel like we say this a lot. If this was a 2-hour Raw and they could have cut out a few things, I think it would have been a solid Raw.
I can agree to that. If basically Strahan... I can't even pronounce his fucking last name.
Strahan.
Strahan, if he wasn't on the show and you cut it down to 2 hours, would have been a really fun show.
Indeed. All right, guys, let's start wrapping things up here. We'll go around one final time, get everyone's plugs they want to put out there. Mr. Drew White, tell us about what you got going on in the world of Drew.
Well, in the world of Drew, we have the Max and Drew Show. Just follow us on Twitter, @Max and Drew Show, and from there you'll find any of the information you need if you need to see more Drew White, and that's about it.
Stephen Wago, fill us in on unanimous decision and everything else going on.
Well, for Unanimous Decision MMA, tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as every Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the upcoming cards. This week, it is the Ultimate Fighter finale. It's going to be main evented by Gray Maynard versus Nate Diaz. This will be their third bout, the first one being in the Ultimate Fighter itself. Their second bout a few years ago. So the third one is going to be very interesting. Both of these guys have developed into great all-around mixed martial artists. And, that's about it for me. I'm also looking to expand the roster and the team on UDMMA, so if you're an MMA fan and you're looking to talk about it, hit me up and I'll see if we can make something work.
Pow, pow, pow. We're looking at you, Texas Jeff. Call it MMA as well. We know you're an MMA dude. Mr. Tony, take over.
Pow, pow, pow.
Wow, pow, 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 pow.
Oh, my God. Rootin' Tootin' Mike Paden there. All right, guys. As mentioned before, my wrestling website is www.smarkoutmoment.com, and the podcast show for that site is called Smack Talk, which you can find on iTunes and Stitcher and youtube.com/smarkoutmoment. As Paden said, we're going to be doing the full match-by-match breakdown of Survivor Series on this next episode Friday. So we also have the 2013 Smart Out Moment Awards. Fuck the Slammies. You want to watch that instead. So stay tuned for all that. Check out my articles on Bleacher Report and my other website, fanboysanonymous.com, your source for all things geek. For everything else under a mango tree, just look around. There's links friggin' everywhere. You can't miss them.
Huh. According to Bryan the Brain, Linda was at Raw tonight. I'm assuming he means Linda McMahon. I didn't see her.
I don't want to see her.
True that. All right, guys. If you enjoyed listening to the show tonight, this is the Mega Powers Radio Monday Night Raw post show. You can find us here every single Monday following the conclusion of Raw at megapowersradio.com. You can also listen to the archive version of the show at www.youtube.com/megapowersradio. And to keep updated on whenever shows are happening and what other things are going down, check out facebook.com/megapowersradio. We thank everyone for listening. We thank all those who have called in and participated in the chat. Always a fun time here on Monday nights chatting wrestling with y'all. So for Tony Mango, for Stephen Wago, and for Drew White, I'm Mike Paden. We'll see y'all next week here on Mega Powers Radio.